How do I turn it? Wait, hold on.
Live. Good to go?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Paul Cito from the National Capital Chapter and the M Chapter. We have a really fun event, I think, for you guys tonight. Before we really get into the crux of all the garage stuff, I do have some things I want to kind of go over, specifically for the M Chapter. So this is kind of our first M Chapter Garage webinar. We had 2 of these in the past under NCC, and we decided to kind of open this up to the US. Hopefully we have more of you guys. Email me if you guys are interested in participating as a future garage panel member, and we'll get you going. We're hoping to do maybe 1 or 2 of these over the next few months while it's still winter in some of the states. And then we'll put some together again for hopefully this time next year in the winter. So I wanted to kind of go through some M Chapter highlights. So we had an incredible 2002 this year. As you guys know, we spent most of the year celebrating the 50th anniversary of M, and we were really fortunate to have a great partner in BMW NA, as well as some of the events that we were at to really showcase what our members' cars are, what our club's about, and it was absolutely an epic year to be a part of the club. Just some quick notes. So M Chapter, we've been around since 2020. We started in COVID. Actually, this is one of the first, or these are some of the first events. We had webinars. That's kind of all we could do, right, in COVID. But since then, we've gained 1,400 members over 3 years. So that's a really big accomplishment for us. Like I was saying before, we celebrated the 50 years of M throughout the whole year at big shows like the Amelia, Hilton Head Island Concourse. We drove a ton of miles doing different tours and back road drives in 10 different states like California, Florida, Maryland, Illinois, South Carolina. We had joint events with NCC. We did a big Baltimore BDC event back in June. We had track events at different performance centers like at Greer and in Thermal, as well as the new performance center at Indy. So this year was our first Indy event. And then if you guys remember, in October, we did a big 50th anniversary event at Greer at the performance center. And we were actually the first North American country actually to witness and see the second generation M2 and the first ever XM. So it was an incredible year. We have a lot more in store for 2023. Hopefully you guys get behind us, come out to some of our events. A lot of our events are national or regional in general. So you guys can save some time and plan some vacations around some of our events, because we have an incredible time. So so more on that later. The other things I want to bring up is we are currently having some elections. So for M Chapter, we're actually selecting this year. We have 1 position, which is our secretary, who's running unopposed. And we have 1 runoff, which is our VP position. So everyone in the M Chapter should have gotten an email with voting instructions. I believe the voting continues for the next week or so. For the runoff for VP. So if you guys haven't voted, please vote as soon as you can. And I think that's kind of all I had for M Chapter announcements. So to kind of kick off this event, I will hand it over shortly to our moderator, Todd Backerstow, and he's going to introduce us to 3 members, 2 on the East Coast, 1 on the West Coast. We'll start on the East Coast. We'll have a really good discussion, and we kind of varied the approaches here for the different members. One, we'll first start off with a garage kind of tailored towards detailing. and then we'll head out to the West Coast, and we'll see a nice garage with several M cars that we'll talk through. And then we'll come back here on the East Coast and we'll talk through the garage that I'm actually in tonight. And we'll take a tour of some of those cars, which are really, really fantastic. So hope you guys have a good, hope you enjoyed tonight. And if you guys ever have any questions, you can reach out to me, Paul Cito. You guys should have gotten my email, so just email me if you need to. And Todd, I will kick it over to you to start tonight's webinar. On to you.
Thanks, Paul. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, if everyone can see those slides, we'll go ahead and get started. So first, welcome everyone, and Paul, thanks for that great introduction. What we wanted to do is I just wanted to provide a quick overview and orient everyone to the format of this event. So I'm Todd Backistow. I'm a part of the M chapter as well as the National Capital chapter, and we actually ran 2 of these events in the past with NCC. And so the format that we will follow is, as Paul said, we're going to highlight 3 member garages. Really, the idea is to it's not a competition or anything like that. It's really just to get ideas, compare, and really understand why the members built the garages the way they did, and what were some of the choices that they made with the features, and what are their overall goals. So we'll cover a couple PowerPoint slides for each garage, and the member will talk about their some of the key features. Then they will give a virtual tour of their garage, and then we'll move on to the next member. So we're going to be flipping from the slides over to the virtual tour format as we go through. It'll be about 10 to 12 minutes per garage. And then we'll have about 30 minutes or so after that for questions, discussions, or if anyone wants to share their experience or ideas. So thanks, and we'll looking forward to those questions as you have them. And so some of the topics we're going to cover, as I mentioned, we're talking about the goals for the space, why the garage was built the way it was built. You can see some of the example features that we'll cover. And then also, of course, the BMWs, the M cars that are in their garages. So that's the reason they have the garage to begin with. So we certainly, you'll see some really cool cars as we go through these members' garages as well. So as Brian, we're going to start with Brian's garage. As Paul was saying, we're going to go to Jeff's garage, and then we'll cover Doug's garage and go into these details. Okay, so first off, Brian, do you want to talk about your detailing garage?
Absolutely. Thank you, Todd. So I'm Brian here, based out of Northern Virginia, and I'm a CCA member. I've owned various BMWs, and I currently have a 2020 F82 Individual Heritage Edition. So with the purchase of that car, I wanted to have a nice garage setup where I could clean the car, enjoy the process of cleaning the car, and maintain it at a semi-professional level. So what I'm going to show you here is kind of what I feel is a good mix of balance, cost effectiveness, but also with a nice level of enjoyment that you could get out of your garage, especially if you're into, like me, cleaning your car, maintaining it, and looking, keeping it looking pristine. So one of the things I wanted to highlight here is the single space garage. So based on the type of house that I purchased, I didn't have an option to have a dual car garage. So I know there's a lot of people in my area, especially Northern Virginia, that don't have the ability or don't have the luxury of buying a 3-car garage home. And so what I wanted to do was just kind of show everyone what you can do in about 500 square feet of space, and how you can make it really nice. So if you come over here, and we'll look at the pressure washer. So I installed a Comic static pressure washer. It's basically, one of the reasons why I went with this was because it has a built-in hose reel. to reduce space. And like I said, space was my primary concern. So I wanted to purchase a pressure washer where I didn't have to worry about a separate hose reel. I didn't have to worry about mounting additional items to the wall and so forth. I also installed a pressure washer gun, which is then run to a stainless steel hose bib. Hose bib here, and then running into a stainless steel holster here. So that was like basically, I figured this was the best layout to kind of have this set up here. Next, I have my dual bucket set up here as well. So what I wanted to do is, again, maximize space. So what I did was create create a corner where I could easily create a two bucket muffler, and then also the ability to have the ability to have a filtration system where I could turn the water on and off and fill my buckets and so forth. So I wanted to kind of, like I said, kind of keep all this very compact where I could utilize space. And if we turn around here, so over here again, with the amount of space that we see here, I wanted to kind of have more of a compact design for my cabinets and my shelving. If we look in here, I could show you real quick. Over here, we have storage for towels and various products and chemicals and things like that. Let's see here. So, so next over here, we have a built-in bench. The bench over here is same thing, space-wise, very nice. I added under counter lighting just to kind of give us some additional lighting here, but this kind of shows us what you can do in a small garage. And then we have some additional cabinets for tools and things like that. I had if you look up here, the garage door opener, I had the garage door opener replaced and installed with a smart Wi-Fi unit. This is really cool because this is not only very quiet and efficient, but it can control the lighting in the garage, and it also has a built-in camera. And then over here, I have my heating element. This actually will put out 800 cubic feet of heat per minute. So it's actually able to heat the garage and save, from 20 degrees or higher. Probably, in 6-7 minutes, you can heat your garage up with this unit. And all the lighting in the garage is automated, so I can turn the lights on and off, voice command, things like that. And again, lighting is very important especially when you're detailing. So I have scan grip lights all over the garage here. And then I have some additional cabinets and polishers. And then I have another cabinet here, same thing with detailing products and things like that. So if we come back here, and this is, like I said, this is, as you can see, this is, the car actually is dirty, but on camera it looks clean. But this is why I purchased this space. This is why I built this space, was to keep this car clean as possible. And if we come down here, this is another cool thing you can kind of do. So when you have a small space, if you want to have access to your chemicals and things like that very quickly installed. So these are 100% stainless steel grade shelving that I had custom installed here. And these are super rugged. And I thought this was a good addition, to kind of bump out the wall here. So if you are dealing with space restrictions, you can always install shelving. Shelving will open up the garage and make it feel like it's bigger than what it is. And over here, I have a whole wall dedicated to wheels As you know, BMW wheels, they get very dirty. And so I have various brushes and things like that over here. And then I've got a dedicated wash buckets, wheel buckets just for washing and storing my towels and things like that. Let's see what else. And the paint, yeah, let me just touch briefly on the paint. So the reason why I went with this color is because when you're detailing in your garage, you don't want white walls, and that's because light reflects. You want to actually a dark color on the wall, so when you are using a detailing light or a scan grip or a flashlight or even your phone, when you're on the car wiping things down, you don't have reflection from white walls. So if you are doing a custom garage build and you're going to be doing detailing inside your garage, you probably want to go with the darkest paint possible, because that way when you're looking at paint, you're not getting reflections from the wall and so forth. So that helps a lot. I think that's about it. My car, just really quick, it is a heritage edition. It's an individual color. It's Imola red version 2. It's lowered on M Performance hash kit. It's got 763M wheels. It's got the M Performance carbon lip. It's got the Club Sport steering. It's got full merino leather. It's got tri-racing stripe carbon roof. It's got various pieces from IND distribution. It's got full front PPF, and it's got full ceramic coating by CarPro. But yeah, it's pretty. It's not tuned, but it is pretty exterior of the car is pretty, I would say pretty nicely modified. I like to call it a OE plus build. But yeah, this is my garage. I apologize, I'm a little clinky here. This is my first time doing this, but I just wanted to show you guys what you can do with a small space. And this car is not that small, so you can kind of see how much you can cram into a small garage, and it be feasible and usable if you have an older home or a newer home or so forth. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Brian, great presentation. Thanks for sharing your garage with us. It's really cool to see somebody with a really dedicated detailing setup. So we do have some questions that are coming in as well. We're going to hold those to the end, and then
Sure.
we will be able to go back and actually show things in the garage specifically. But just to make sure that we have time to cover all the presenters, we're going to keep things moving. But yeah, thanks so much again. Really impressive setup.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go back to the presentation slides for a minute, and Jeff, over to you whenever you're ready.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, awesome. Welcome everybody to the West Coast, and welcome to my my lovely garage and home that we often refer to in this area as the M House. We have a little bit of a cultural scene up here in Northern California. We live on the ridgeline called Skyline Boulevard, which is in the Bay Area along the peninsula. Kind of runs between San Francisco and San Jose. We're surrounded by redwood trees and lots of really awesome, amazing, curvy, twisty mountain roads. We're just maybe 20, 25 minutes down to Palo Alto, so not super far away, but it feels like you're miles away and in this idyllic sort of cool area with lots of great driving. Yeah, just a short stone's throw away from civilization. I have this M flag that's right at our driveway. It's very iconic. I put it up just for fun when we moved here several years ago, and later started a Instagram page for the flag. And really what it was about representing the motorsport community that drives up here, not specifically about M cars or BMW. And of course, every Cars and Coffee I go to, people meet me and get to know who I am. And they're like, oh, you're the guy at the flag. And I drive past it all the time. And it's like my reminder to slow down because we have a restaurant and a whole corner over here where all the cars come on the weekends. and hang out. So this is very much like a destination area. So it's really awesome to be able to live in this area and then kind of take part in the car culture. And so I guess my garage is sort of a little bit of an extension of that car culture. It's a 2x2+1 format. So you'll see in just a minute, we can do 2 cars, 2x2, all right, 4 in one side. And then I have a single car garage on the other side. And that's where the better half's car parks, which is a Tesla Model 3. So it won't be making an appearance on the video tonight, but if you're wondering what's in that extra garage, that's what's going on over there. I love to host parties up here, especially after like CCA drives and things like that, since this is one of the areas that we often start or finish our drives in. So people come back here and we have a huge parking paddock out front. We can get about 24 cars if we really coordinate and get them all stuck in. So it makes it a lot of fun. And I just love meeting people in the community and telling stories. And that's a lot of what my garage is all about. So with that, I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour. I think we're done with the slides. And I apologize because the garages you're seeing, Brian's garage is so epically beautiful and organized, and mine is a hot frickin' mess. This whole side is sort of my, like, I don't know what to call it, my production side. I have my little box of tools. I have all my various things. I mean, it is a garage, right? It has to hold various things. I've got my, you know, blower and chainsaw and house paint and the various stuff stored down there. Over here on this side, I've got all my oils and coolants and brake pads and detailing supplies and jack stands and all the things I need to do all the work I do on my cars. And this tiny, tiny little Craftsman toolbox looks ridiculous. I know a lot of you people probably have those really nice big snap-on toolboxes and everything. I have changed engines in E30 M3s and dropped subframes and transmissions. Everything I need fits in this little box. So I have what I need. I can get it done, but it certainly doesn't look very impressive. So let me walk you around the rest of the garage. Like I said, we like to have people here and tell stories. I like to be able to display some of my event art, places that I've been. So one of my favorite things here is the 2019 memorabilia of having been to Le Mans. And it was an absolutely stunning experience. My cameraman went in 2021. If you've never been to Le Mans, I highly recommend going. It's a really incredible experience. Over on the other side of the wall, I've got a bunch of CCA posters. We've got our 100 years of BMW celebration in Monterey. I'm wearing the commemorative jacket for that right now. Over here is this year's 2022 50 Years of M Festorics, the corral that we do at Laguna Seca Raceway during the Monterey Car Week with BMW CCA, bracketing Legends of the Autobahn. Really great poster. Love to see the 50-year represented here. This was our first time back to Monterey and to O-Fest in many, many years. This was 2013. And then far back here, we have our Palm Springs poster from this year's O-Fest. O-Fest is just such a great way to like meet people, take travel trips, you know, if they're drivable, you know, get out on some nice roads. But the piece in here that's really important that I want to talk to you about is this M triptych. It's really quite special. So we had a little bit of a surprise incident shortly after moving into our house a couple of years back. We had a house fire. It was not ideal, but we, you know, recovered from that, and we were healthy and safe, and no one was hurt, and all that kind of stuff. But I did lose a lot of stuff, and a bunch of my friends in the car community and the car club and BMW CCA from all over the country got together and pulled in all kinds of memorabilia to give to us. It was a big surprise. And one of the big surprise things that they did is a good friend of ours who does car photography here in the area made this triptych, and they completely fooled me to have me participate in this. And I thought I was just helping him with one of his like car art projects. So the center purple stripe is my Interlagos E90 M3 that I'm standing next to here. And the blue stripe is Yasmarina F80. And the red stripe is a E46 ZHP Imola. So this is really the story of the car club, the people in the club, the community that we have that came together to make this thing happen. And I'm forever grateful, and I love telling this story. And if people are like, why should I join the car club? that's why you should join the car club, because there's people like that they're in this club, and I just love it. Good, he's got a good picture of it there. So lastly, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the cars. I think we're going to start right here, actually. So me and my buddy actually kind of share some of the cars here in the garage. He lives out of country. Possession's 9/10 of the law, right? So I get the keys. It's a great relationship. He comes back and visits often, and he drives his cars when he's here. And I'm very honored to take care of them. So the new one that he's just picked up is this beautiful car right here. This is a 1996 European spec E36 M3. It was imported from Japan. This car has 30,000 miles on it. And if Alexi can swing down and take a look at the interior, this has a very rare M-Cross Alcantara gray interior. I often call this the Jackson Pollock interior, and it's really special. This car has a 6-speed manual transmission from the factory. It's the G420 transmission, the same transmission that ultimately ended up in the E46 M3, but had its debut here in this car. And of course, the real magic is, at least for those of us in the US, the forbidden engine. This is the S50 B32. I think probably one of the most special things about this engine is it's really half of a McLaren F1 V12 engine. So as many of you probably know, that's the descendant of this. So it's pretty special M Heritage engine. If you look at the McLaren V12 engine, you will see the exact same Vanos up front here. Picture perfect, exactly the same bore and stroke. So really special engine. It makes fantastic sounds. It's not super fast in comparison to the US car. The US car has an awful lot more torque. So they sort of balance out there. And this one drives a little bit more like an S14 in that old school way that, it's all power up top and nothing down low. So it can feel a little lackluster until you get it screaming, and then it's an experience. So very special car, very honored to have it. And it's incredible at 30,000 miles. The paintwork is gorgeous. So kind of a neat thing. The next car I want to talk about is our 1M. So many of you all know the story of the 1M. I'm not going to bore you there, but I do love that the garage has this great story in that we have an E30 M3 parked next to it, and we have an E90 M3. And those two cars played a little bit of part in the 1M coming together. As the story goes, this is BMW CCA history that's been passed down to me by BMW's M brand manager, Larry Koch, that the engineers assigned to this project were asked to take out BMW's E30 M3 Sport Evo and get a sense of the feeling and the spirit and try to design some of that spirit into this car. And because this car came late in the process, and there's a whole long story about how this thing almost wasn't to be, it was the first time that we saw an M car made with parts off the shelf. And those parts were all from the E90 M3. So the 1M shares the steering rack, the differential, the suspension, the brakes, all those kinds of things. And that's how they were able to really produce the car at speed. They made this whole thing in like a year, which is insane for car development. And it's because they borrowed things. I remember being like, kind of concerned, like, is that really going to work? And of course, the car is brilliant. This is probably one of my most favorite cars to drive in the garage. My E90 M3 is kind of one of my pride and joys. I bought this car to my spec, original owner. It was made in the final month of production for sedan production in 2011, October of 2011. And I also have a Technoviolet E36 M3 4-door 5-speed parked outside. That's my daily. Absolutely love that car. Gets great looks. People are always thumbs upping the purple. So I super love that. And the other thing that's really cool about these cars is they're all like driver-oriented cars. Every car here is on some sort of modified suspension to try to get the most experience out of it. The E30 is on full ground control suspension with the Apex wheels. The E90 is full Dynon race coilover package, which is ride height adjustable collars, camber plates, retains the factory EDC struts, adds monoball control arm bushings, adjustable front sway bar, and solid rear aluminum tow bars. The Estoril is on Öhlins with sway bars and camber plates, and it has a Dixis titanium exhaust, which is a JDM market aftermarket tuner. It actually sounds really nice. It's not particularly loud, and it looks really cool. And the 1M is on MCS coilover suspension, Stop Tech brakes, Cobb tune, upgraded charge pipe, oil cooler, all the cool go fast bits. So this is my garage. This is what we love to do: tell stories, invite people over. If you're ever in Northern California and want to come by, just look me up at m.house.skyline on Instagram, and we'll tell lies. Over to you, Todd.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate your tour, and great collection of BMWs, and really fantastic community that you have there. So we're going to go over to our final garage tour and presenter, Doug. So let me go ahead and we'll share the slides, and over to you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Todd. I'm Doug Berner. I've been a club member since 1983. And as a chapter volunteer here with National Capital Chapter, I run the M driving programs with the BMW Performance Center. We spend a lot of time every year taking people down to the Performance Center driving new M cars. So that's kind of my passion within the chapter. So like many of us, I think, I'd kind of always dreamed about having a garage to put my cars and my stuff in. And about 10 years ago, I started in on this. And my situation is that I'm in a neighborhood, just like a lot of other people, one house next to another. I had limited space. I didn't want to really build a garage that was going to stand out all by itself. I wanted something that I could incorporate with the existing architecture of our house and of the neighborhood and not disturb things too much. So I looked at adding on to my existing space, and that's what I've got. I've got a hybrid setup where I took my original 2-car garage and then added another space behind that. I wanted to make it look as large as possible within the footprint that I had to deal with. And by doing that, that means I needed to go up. So I was looking at 15-foot ceilings throughout to give me that bigger space in there. And as I built my new part, I didn't want to build it with trusses. I built it stick built so that I get that feeling of the high volume of the garage. I wanted kind of an old barn look. I'm an antique car guy at heart. That's where my interest really lies. And I wanted to make it look like when you came up to our house, it looked like any other house in the neighborhood. But when you walked into the garage, you kind of went back in time 150 years, and it looked like you were walking into an old time barn. I wanted a nice place to keep my cars. I wanted a unique place to keep some of my unique things that we'll go over in a while. I wanted to kind of have it as a party barn too, where I could open up the back door and walk out onto patio, which I also built at the same time that I built the extension. And I absolutely wanted a lift in the place. Maybe not quite as much to do work on my car, but more to store my cars. And that gave me space for another one with the limited space I had. So those were kind of my goals when I started out. So what did I end up with? Well, I found a local builder who actually was just 3 blocks away from me. And we kind of hit it off. And I think part of that reason was because he was a car guy too. He had a 67 Camaro and he had a Harley, and he sort of knew what I was looking through. And as we went through the process of building this addition, he kind of got me. They wanted to do things a certain way. I wanted it a different way, but we understood what was going on here and ended up having a great relationship with them. My original 625 square foot garage expanded to about 1175, a little less than twice as big. I did put my real wood walls up. I got my old barn look and I insulated those walls. I wanted a conditioned space. I wanted to be able to spend time out here 12 months out of the year. We're in Maryland. We have hot summers. We have cold winters. We have beautiful falls and springs. And I wanted to be able to open the garage up when the weather was great, but I still wanted to be able to come out and enjoy myself without wearing a big heavy coat or stripping down to my bathing suit. So I definitely wanted that conditioned space, and I put a mini split in with both heat and air conditioning, and then I augment that with fans. In terms of storage, I looked at cabinets out there. I ended up getting Gladiator cabinets. I like the industrial look on those. And to be real honest with you, at the time that I bought these things, I was buying them through Sears, and they cost me less than $100 a piece. So it was the best value on the market I could find for a cabinet that really brought that industrial look that I was looking for. A big part of building my garage was figuring out my electrical needs. I have a neon beer sign collection and some other things that I've been collecting for over 40 years, and I wanted a place to put all of my electronics up. So I planned well ahead, and I'll show you all the outlets on the bottom half of my garage are spaced every 4 feet, and they're all hot. But the ones on the top part of the walls and on the ceiling are all switched, so that I can flip a switch and an entire wall will light up with those upper electrical outlets. I bought new garage doors for the front. They were original with the house, the best insulated garage doors I could find. And I put a glass garage door on the back so that I could get light into the place, open it up, but that I could open it up and move out onto my patio when the weather was great. I did put my car lift in. I looked around. There's a lot of choices. There's single posts, there's 2 posts, there's 4 posts. I ended up going with a single post lift from American Custom Lifts, super high quality, made in America. But with that single lift, I was able to keep that open space that I wanted and have just that one post up against the wall and out of the way. So I wasn't walking around lift posts as I went through the garage. I needed good lighting. I put some HID lights in. These are high intensity discharge lights. These are the things that you see in warehouses and gymnasiums, the large lights in the ceiling, very, very bright, very long lasting, very economical. And then I've augmented that with some antique barn lights that I found around in warehouses in Chicago. Now I would tell you that LEDs are a great choice. And at the time that I purchased these, this was the best thing going, but I think I would look stronger at LEDs now. I have an air compressor, and I'm going to put hard lines in. I'm working on that. I've got big screen TV and music and wireless and all the electronics that I need to hang out here and feel comfortable. And one of my concepts was that I wanted to get everything off the floor. I wanted it to be a very clean place, but I didn't want a lot of junk around. So as I continue to work through it, everything gets mounted, everything gets put on the wall, and I don't have very much that actually sits on the floor. I'm still working on insulating the roof, and I'm going to put a corrugated metal ceiling in. The floor will come in last, and I'm probably going to do porcelain tile for that. The reason is that every time I go into a brand new BMW service center, all their floors are porcelain tile. Easy to clean, they look great, got a lot of choices, very durable. So I'll go with that. And then finally, I'm going to look at a fire suppression system. I've got a lot of wood here, I've got a lot of electricity, I've got gas and oil. I don't want to burn the house down, so I'm probably going to move finally to put a fire suppression system in to maintain safety. So with that, let me take a little walk around. Paul's graciously decided to agree to be my cameraman here. So we'll get set up for that. We'll walk around and I'll show you what I've got and show you my cars. So first, we start at this side of the garage. I've got my glass garage door here that I've got a chain on. No electric opener back here. I like that classic look. I don't open it that much, but when I do, I go over and I open it with a chain here. Got my large screen TV, my sound system. Actually, I have to have 2 sound systems in because of the TV and the Apple TV, and things don't work there simultaneously. So I've got 2 sound systems in here. And then we'll go over here and take a look at my cars. And the one on top here, this is my 99 M Coupe, the clown shoe. I'll tell you what, this will be the last car to go. This was the first M car that I got. I love these things when they came out. Estral Blue is just magnificent, and it's a fun car to drive. It was my daily driver for a couple of years. I have a little over 100,000 miles on it right now. It drives beautifully, looks beautiful. I absolutely love that car. Beneath that is an 05 E46 M3 with a Dynon S2 package. This has all the Dynon features you can get on it except the supercharger. I went after this car because I love Phoenix Yellow. And I have an SMG in here, which I absolutely love driving. This car is set up for the track. My wife doesn't like it. It doesn't have heated seats. It's a little stiff with the suspension. I also use this as a daily driver for several years. Sunroof delete. It's really set up as a nice stiff track car, and I absolutely love it too. Next, we're going to go here to a car that I picked up about a year and a half ago, and this is an F87 M2 CS, one of a little less than 600 cars in the country. 2,200 cars were made worldwide. This one's in Misano Blue. It is a manual transmission with the steel wheels. There were only 4 options you could get on this car. Basically, this is an M4 comp shoehorned into an M2 chassis. It is lots of fun to drive. It gets great looks with the color combination here. It's just the right size for me. I'm a little bit more of a small car guy, and I'll tell you, it's a car that I love to drive. Outside, I have 2 of my M cars. I have an E92 M3, 2008 E92 M3. I bought that car from Steve Kenny, one of our chapter members and a good friend. Part of the reason I got that car was because Steve owned it before I did, and I knew how he took care of his cars. We have very similar taste in cars. That's a Silverstone car, red interior, once again, a manual transmission. And then a car we picked up beginning of this year, and this is a 2022 X3 M Competition. This is my wife's car. Hopefully you guys can see me as I wink when I say that. She wanted a new X3 and I wanted an M3 comp, and this car served both of us that well. I have to tell you, I'm not really an SAV guy, but I love driving that car. With that S58 engine in there, the performance is tremendous. The X5 suspension that goes into it, they did just an absolutely fantastic job building that car, and I actually drive it around more than she does now. Finally, the latest car that I brought into my garage, and I'm truly honored to have this thing. This is a 2023 M4 CSL, one of only 1,000 made in the world. BMW won't tell us, but there's approximately 240, 250 that came into the United States. This is a frozen Brooklyn gray, which was the launch package. And this car has a lot of very special bits to it. Full carbon hood, full carbon tail. It's got special wheels came with it. And I want to show you, Paul will come around here and we'll show you the carbon racing seats. These aren't like the electric ones that you get in your M4s these days. These are specially made for this car by BMW. They're fixed seats. If you want to adjust these things more than moving them front and back, you have to take them into your dealer and they can adjust them for you. It's really a special car, lots of power. I'm waiting for it to get fully wrapped PPF and ceramic coating. And after that, I'll be able to get it out and get the rest of my break-in mileage on it, though. But and I have to tell you, this was another thing that happened with club members. A very good friend of mine, club member Mike Waugh, gave me his allocation on this car. I tried for 6 months to get a hold of one of these. I wasn't able to, and he's waiting on another car, so he gave me his allocation. And a nice little side note, you got this thing at MSRP, no markup. So it makes it even more fun to drive, knowing that. My last car over here isn't a BMW. But I told you I was an antique car person. This is a 1929 Model A Special Coupe. I got this car. I'm really a Model T guy. I had a Model T when I was in high school, and I liked the earlier cars. But I got this one because it had a rumble seat in it, and I could take my grandkids around the neighborhood and give them something to remember me by. So I've had this car 4 or 5 years. It's a lot of fun to drive. You really don't drive it, it drives you. The difference in technology is really stunning when you drive a car like this and see the way that it drove. But in its time, this was really, really the bomb. It was a tremendous vehicle to have. So this is a fun car and something that I really enjoy driving. So those are my cars. Hey, I'm going to point a couple of other things out to you. I told you I had a few collectibles here that I built my garage for. So this is some of my neon beer sign collection, a little bit of an unusual hobby. These things are fairly fragile, so not for the faint of heart, but I've got a few of these up and I'll have more up when I finish my ceiling. So I've got a place for my neons. Over here against the wall, I've got an eco air meter. You all may recognize this when you were young. You went and filled up your bicycle tires at the gas station in the car. This one is very unique because it actually works the way it's supposed to. If I crank this up to 35 pounds, I'll put 35 pounds of air in my tires, and I am going to use this to fill the tires up for all the cars in my garage. This right here is a late 1940s Bevador. This is, I needed to have a place to put refreshments for people that came over. And so I searched for this for 8 or 9 years or so. Very hard to find, but it is a commercial beer and beverage refrigerator. And I'm in the process of restoring it now. When it's all done, it'll sit back in the corner here. It'll hold 11 cases of beer on shelves that will swing all the way around so you can get to whatever is in the back. The real cool part is that it has a top that'll go on it to make it look like a large beer bottle, and it has a glass door that lights up and you can actually see in there what's inside. So a really cool piece that took me a very long time to find. I've got places on my wall that hang up all my my garage art. And I've got my granddaddy's old barber chair here from the early 20s. That's been following me around for almost 50 years. And I love to come out here and sit and watch games in that. And then I'll show you that I've got some fans here. These are called Fanoplanes. And these were super rare. I actually first found out about them 25 years ago at a restaurant I used to go into at work. I looked for them seriously for over 10 years, and I was finally able to come up with these three. And give you an idea. Another very unique item that's hard to find, but it'll sure move some air around here. So I put those up. So that's my garage, a place for my kind of cool cars and a place for my cool and unique items that I've been collecting for most of my life.
Thanks, Doug. Incredible collection of cars and really unique items. So thanks for taking us on the tour. So we're going to go over now. I know there's some questions that have been accumulating in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and take questions and then go ahead and wrap up. I think the first question was for Brian, related to both the cabinets that you selected for your garage, as well as the heater that you're using as well. So Brian, do you want to, if you can come off mute, you want to go ahead and answer that question?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Absolutely. So the cabinets that I'm using are New Age cabinets. They are the Pro Series. And the reason why I chose these cabinets was one, they fit the bill. You know, I didn't need $30,000 cabinets to hold, you know, a couple $1,000s worth of detailing products. So this particular cabinet set that I had showcased on the video fit small spaces. I think it's very very doable for what if you do have a small space garage. And I think it comes in various colors and things like that, and they deliver to your house, and you can, and I put all this together. It came on a huge pallet. But yeah, they're new age cabinets. Like I said, they're very 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 well made cabinets. I feel they are. So, and then the other question, Todd, what was the other question?
It was about the heater. Real quick though on the
I'm sorry.
cabinets,
Yes.
so the two grades. I think within New Age they make two different grades. One is basically the thickness
Right.
of the steel, as well as then whether they have soft close or not. So it sounds like with the Pro, do you have the soft close?
You know what? I don't. Maybe I don't. Okay, so these don't soft close, but my cabinets down here soft close. So
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, so like these down here are soft close.
So a couple different options depending on, within their product line of what different people may want to select. But they're available directly. They're available, I think, at Costco or number of retailers. I think even like at Home Depot and places like that. So they're pretty widely available at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I ordered mine direct from New Age before I moved into my new house, and then it took about 6 months to get them during the pandemic. And yeah, I love them. So they definitely fit the bill for what I need to do. And
then the heater was the next question.
Yes, the heater I purchased. Actually, I just bought it on. I think I got it on Amazon, and it's the Vornado. It's the Velocity heater, and yeah, it has digital control. I can actually set it up where it'll heat the garage to a certain temperature. I think it goes up to 90 degrees. And it here, let me see. Yeah, so basically you can't see it, but it's got a tip control. So if you knock it over, it'll shut off, and it's got like a full digital control. Like I said, it'll cut on automatically and heat the garage when I need to. It gets fairly hot. So I think it's a good heater, especially when you have a small space. And if you're in your garage in the winter detailing and things like that, you don't want to be in here and it's 40 degrees, so this water gets uncomfortable. So like my garage usually stays at about 60, 70 degrees during the winter months.
The heat is water.
And what about drainage? How do you handle drainage in there?
Yeah, so right now, so I do have on order Swiss-Trax flooring, which is not here yet, but we'll have that installed soon. Right now, my builder did not install a drainage, but I guess the way the floor is made, the water just kind of runs right out. I haven't had any issues with it. The concrete is sealed, and once I get the Swiss-Trax flooring, the water will just kind of channel underneath. But yeah, right now I haven't had any issues with water. Water just kind of flows right out. I do have a let me see here. Come here. I do have a special broom here. Well, I guess, but basically I use this to kind of push some of the water out with standing. But yeah, I haven't really had any issues with water.
Thanks, Brian. There was another question that I saw in the chat about Doug's lift and the brand of the single post lift. Doug, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, so this is a single post lift from American Custom Lifts, aclifts.com. They're out of California. They build these down in Dallas. It is super heavy duty. They have two versions, actually. They have a 4.5 ton, I'm sorry, a 4,500 pound and a 6,500 pound. And they have certain height limits on each. I did get the extra center panels in here so that I don't have any leakage from the car on top to the one on the bottom, but those can be removed so that you can get up and you can do work on it. And a pro tip for you, you'll see that Paul's panning through and that I have what are they called? Flat stoppers underneath my tires on top, so that when I store the car up here throughout the winter, I don't end up with a flat spot on those tires. Those flat stoppers actually conform to your tire, keep it from flat spotting, and that's also a good practice on your concrete floor.
Doug, can you just add a little bit more about how installing the single post lift and what's required to do that?
Yeah, so it's a whole thing. This isn't something that really the normal person can do on their own. They will sell it to you and let you install it, but what you do is you go through and you buy the lift from the company. I think I bought it in early December.
Paul, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
I think we can hear it now. Well, we heard early December and then we lost you.
Oh, okay. So I ordered it in early December and it got installed in early April. So what they do is they manufacture it in Dallas. They ship it out to one of the installers that they have on their list. This guy came down from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and he came down and installed it. Actually, it took him about 4 hours to install it by himself, but he did have some cranes and equipment to get it off his truck. It is super heavy. I think the weight of this lift is around 4,000 pounds, if I remember, just for the lift itself. It is hydraulic. There's no maintenance required for oil or hydraulics. You just go over and push a button and it works. I've been extremely pleased with it. But the really reason that I bought it was the quality and the fact that it was so heavy duty for a single post.
Doug, quick follow-up question. Did you have to reinforce the concrete floor or put a new footer in?
Good question. No. The standard for concrete on these lifts, I believe, is 4 inches thick, and I forget how 3,000 PSI or something like that. But the standard floors that are built into most garages these days will handle this lift without any additional reinforcement. There's actually a piece that comes out on the bottom to help balance it, and that gets bolted right into your concrete floor, but no additional work had to be done there.
Thanks. That's a great overview. One item too that I've heard of, I don't know, maybe you've come across this, but that just you have to also look at the width of the car. I've heard some people that were trying to put a wider car on there and they were having issues with that on a single post. It could be actually with any lift, but specifically that person had a single post, and I think it was the Ferrari that was too wide.
Yeah, so these Todd, these are adjustable. So you can actually adjust the things on this. Before he finally bolted it down, he measured my car to make sure that I got it up there just right. So they're fairly adjustable.
Okay, cool. Good to know. See if there's any other questions or comments or any other suggestions too. Please feel free to put them in the chat.
Oh, someone's asking about your fans. Oh, I'm not sure which one, but I assume they liked your plane fans there.
Yeah, so these things, the red one right here, 1927 Fano plane. This would have been one of the earliest models that they built. The other red one over there is in the early 30s. That was made by Dallas Fan Company. And then I have another one sitting over here, which we're really not sure where that came from. It's been restored. It probably was pieced together by another company, but they didn't have a name on it. But they're pretty interesting. They were kind of novelty items at the time. You used them in restaurants or warehouses or large businesses where they really wanted to move some air around. But remember, at the time, the late 20s, the early 30s, we started getting into airplane travel, and it was a bit of a way to add some interest to just having a fan and moving air around in your business. Nowadays, they are very, very difficult to find, as I said, once I seriously got looking into these things, it took me over 10 years to find these. And normally when they go up, it's within a very tight fan collector community, and they're sold within minutes. So
What about the big fan?
so the big fan, I'll tell you what, at the time that I put this in, I didn't have the money and want to spend it on a big ass fan. So I went down the street and got this one, which is very similar. It's a 7-foot fan, pretty standard 6-speed. It's got a light on it, moves air around very well. Does a great job when the weather's nice here and I open up my doors and my windows. I put that fan on. It's extremely comfortable.
Any other questions out there while we still have a captive audience? You guys are welcome to come off mute if you want and announce your question. I don't see any other questions in the chat. All right, someone had a question about flooring. Anyone want to tackle flooring?
What question is?
They just had a
are
general. They just had a general question about flooring, epoxy or paint for concrete.
If you're, I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're going to be working on your car, you probably want to seal your concrete. Maybe oil spills, things like that. If you're like me, you're going to be, have water around your concrete. You want to seal it as well. I guess it kind of depends on your, what your preference is. Epoxy could be nice. I know for people who have epoxy floors, it's just that the dirt won't. You still have to sweep it. You still got to treat it like it's a a regular concrete floor. So dirt, wind, dirt, debris, whatever it does, flies in your garage. You got to sweep it out. So it just kind of depends on your. But if you're going to be doing anything on your car, water, oily, anything like that, you probably want to definitely seal the concrete.
So I'll chime in here a little bit. I did really a lot of research on flooring. There's 3 or 4 different ways you can go. The sealed concrete that Brian talked about, the epoxy, which is now I think sort of been superseded by a polymer type coating, which has kind of taken over the industry. You have the snap-on grids, the race decks, and those sort of things. Then you get into tiles, various type of tiles, porcelain or ceramic or other things like that. So you kind of want to do your research out there and just see what makes sense to you. There's a lot of variety in terms of cost per square foot, how easy or difficult it is to put it in. Those race decks, real great in getting a whole garage done in one day. So if you want some instant gratification, that's a great way to go. The epoxy stuff, I would strongly recommend that you have it done by a professional. I've never really heard of good results when a do-it-yourselfer does it. They tend to peel up, and that's the biggest complaint people have, is that you come in with hot tires on that, and if it's really not done right, with a guarantee that you're going to eventually have problems with that. And then, as I said, I'm kind of going the route of porcelain tiles, super durable, easy to clean. They're really inexpensive, but then you have to have them installed, and that's where your price will come in there. So one place to go for lots of information on all these subjects is garagejournal.com. And it's sort of been the Bible with garages for, I think, over 10 years. And you can see hundreds of posts on any of these subjects. Boy, you can read an awful lot about flooring out there, an awful lot about heating, air conditioning systems, and things like that. There's a lot of people throughout the country that chime in with some real good information for you at garagejournal.com.
So on porcelain floors, can you use jack stands or floor jacks?
Yes, you can. In fact, you'll see videos out there of people that install porcelain floors, and they'll take a sledgehammer to them and the tiles don't break. If they're installed properly, they're extremely durable. You can put your jacks right on top of them with no problem at all. Once again, the key is proper installation. And there are differences in tiles, in the density of the tiles. Some were made for bathrooms, some were made for garages. Got to do a little research there, but it used to be that you could pick up porcelain tiles for $1 a square foot. So they're very cost competitive in that way.
Doug, that is a great overview of the flooring. I can tell you've done a ton of research. There was a question on the polyurea or the epoxy coatings about them becoming slick, and I think that could having a slippery floor could be a question across any of them. I know with the polyurea ones, the way that that you mitigate that is they actually have these kind of flake or chips in there, and there's also a little bit of a sand compound that's mixed in with it when it's installed professionally. And any floor can get slick, but that really does help reduce the any kind of slippage that you have, both for the car or just walking out in the garage if the floor is wet.
Yes, absolutely. As with anything else, those flakes are a little bit extra, but they really make a difference, both in terms of look and in terms of not slipping on a wet floor.
The other, I've also heard of vinyl flooring as well. In fact, I think New Age Products, or the company that makes the cabinets, they actually make a vinyl tile that you can put in a garage as well. I don't know about the traction on that one. It might vary based on the texturing and the material, but I've also heard of that as well. Kind of like the trend that you're seeing in some basements with LVP or luxury vinyl planking instead of a hardwood floor.
Yep, that's also an option. And also they have just vinyl rolls that you can, if you're really cost conscious, for like $300 or so, you can get these rolls. I think Costco used to sell them, and you can just roll out a vinyl sheet on your floor. And if you've got torn up concrete, or you want a little something extra but don't have a lot of money to spend, you can go that route too.
I think it's definitely one of those topics though where there's there are high grade products in each of those categories, and it really just depends. Like there's not one absolute best, right? It really depends on how you're going to use it, how you want it to look, all these kind of factors that you have to weigh.
Yep, and price too.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions out there? We have a question from Dwayne Mosley. Dwayne says, tell Doug I'm interested in his M2 if he ever wants to free up some of that space in his garage. Typical Dwayne Mosley question. Right?
Thank you, Dwayne. I'll keep you in mind.
Doug, what's your advice? Buy and hold, buy and hold.
Buy and hold. That's my advice, guys. Buy and hold.
Paul, are there any other wrap-up comments that you want to share before we conclude?
I don't think so. We didn't have any follow-ups for Jeff. Anyone have any questions or comments on Jeff and his lovely garage with all those cool vehicles in there? I think we're all still drooling on that E36, man.
I have a question for Jeff. What's he using for heat?
Yes. So the fastest way to heat up my garage is to take one of my cars for a drive and then park it in here and close the door. And in about 10 minutes, it feels quite nice in here. And then I've got a small floor heater, electric floor heater, what do you call it? A radiant heater. And I kick that on, and that helps keep the garage warm once I've kind of done the job with a nice big V8 engine first. Yes, you're welcome, Dwayne. Happy to share all the stuff we have going on here. And this was really fun. Thanks everybody for joining us. We actually all together put a lot of time into making this happen, did a lot of practicing, and got our talk tracks down. So we wanted you all to have a really great experience through this whole thing.
Yeah, Jeff, someone's asking for your Instagram, so put that in the chat. But yeah,
all right, I'll throw that in the chat.
Absolutely. Jeff, Brian, Doug, Todd, you guys put in a whole lot of work on this. I mean, we were we were going out after this for, I don't know, a month and a half or so. You guys pulled all the great content together and it all came out really great tonight. I will share the recording. Probably will go out with the next M chapter email blast. If you guys have any questions for anyone in the M chapter or even me and NCC, you guys can always reach out anytime. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, and you guys have been great. Thank you guys for pulling this together, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Wrapping it up.
Thanks,
Good
Paul.
night. Thanks, guys. Stuff in the chat. Oh, there's a bunch of thank yous. Very
You
good.
record it. You have to stop the recording.
Oh, yeah,
Is it
yeah,
stop
shit, I gotta do
automatically?
that too.